So we can get stuck in our meditation, can't we? We can get stuck in these kind of states of mind where we're distracted, or we're bored, or we're uncomfortable, and it feels impossible to get out of them sometimes in meditation, doesn't it? It feels impossible to go from that into a more interesting, more expansive state of mind. So from a Buddhist point of view, what we're trying to do is we need to turn towards that. We need to turn towards whatever's going on. In a way, just kind of reality, what's actually happening now, not a alternative reality or what we would like to happen, but what's kind of happening now, and see what's happening in our experience. That's what has the power to transform it. So I'm really excited to be kicking off this new meditation series. In this series, we're going to be looking at the Buddha's 4 modes of grasping, which is the kind of way that we limit ourselves, our perspective, ourselves, our way of kind of relating to life. And today we're going to be looking at views. Views are kind of limiting ideas that we've kind of we're kind of born with, or we've kind of picked up, which kind of limit what we can get out of our meditation. They limit out our experience. Grasping after certain outcomes, certain ways of kind of being. Yeah? So we're going to look at how grasping after what we want can actually limit us getting that in meditation. Okay, so very warm welcome. My name's Machinara. I'm an order member with Brixton, the Buddhist community teacher at Brixton, and I'm really delighted to be in Effra Space here, back into kind of quasi-live class situation. There's real actual people here, and we're going to be running a class here from Effra Space in Brixton. So what I would like to do, it'd be great if you could let us know that you're here. Just let us know that you're here. Type into the chat box, let me know that you're here, and I'll be able to give some shout outs, and it'd be good to know who's tuning in. So what we'll do in a moment is we'll get into a body scan. We'll get into a body scan to really just arrive, just to get present to what's going to be happening, what's going to be unfolding over the next hour. And with that, we're just going to kind of try and arrive into our present experience, whatever that is. And then after that, I'll give us a little talk, a little intro into views, how we can work with views in meditation, and then we'll have a go at that in the meditation itself. Okay, so let's do that. So let's see. We've got some people tuning in, but nothing on the live chat as yet that I can see. Okay, I'm just gonna see if I can get that up. Okay, yeah, I've got you. Hi, Debs. Nice to have you with us. Okay, so what we're going to do is just settle into our meditation postures. You've got everything you need. We've got our cushions. If you're home, whether you're on the chair or on the sofa, it's quite good to just set up under your own steam, really, and not be kind of lounging into the chair or the sofa. Just kind of sitting up nice, kind of a relaxed, upright posture. And let's just see if we can close our eyes and see if we can just tune in to what's happening in our experience. So let's just start by having a feel for the sound around us, the sound, the noise that's going on around us. And that shouldn't be an issue, just let that be there. We can let the sound be there. And just feel the space where that's all happening in, all the space all around you. Space in which your body is contained. And you can feel your body present. You can feel your body with the sensations that are present there, being held in this space. So however the day has been, it's been busy or spacious, just catching up with how you are just now. And you can notice that by feeling how you are in the body. So particularly just noticing the weight of the body, where it's pressing into the mat, into the cushions. And see if you can allow your body weight to just release down into that contact. Starting to let go of holding in the body. You can notice your feet and ankles where they're pressing into the ground. You can notice your legs, sensations of the legs. Just see if you're holding on in the legs at all. Just see if you can start to let go in your legs just so that the weight drops down into the floor. And then just noticing your tummy, noticing any tension in your tummy. Seeing if you can start to let go in the area of the tummy. And then just moving up your back, up to the area of the shoulders and the upper back. Seeing if you can start to let go in the shoulders. Start to soften in the shoulders. And then coming with your attention up into the area of the face, up into the area of your eyes, forehead. And just seeing if you can start to allow the forehead to soften and the gaze of the eyes to soften. Just allowing your face to rest. And then contacting the area of the chest. Noticing your breathing. Noticing whether you're tight or whether you feel released in this area. And now just starting to notice again your position in the room, in the space that you're in. Feeling here that you're meditating together with other people. We're here together with other people, both online and us here physically. Okay, good. So I'm going to talk a little bit about views now. So yeah, views are, well, we can think about what a view is. It's the way we see things, isn't it? It feels like that's just the way things are. The way we see things just feels like that's just the way things are. So views often just feel like that's just how things are, yeah? But you can start to question that. You can start to question that. And that's a useful thing to do. So, because some of these views that we hold are going to really get in the way of our meditation. So I'm going to give a little bit of background of views, and then I'm going to talk into, well, actually just two or three. There's lots and lots of different views that we can kind of hold in ourselves. I'm going to talk about two or three that I feel really get in the way of my meditation. Yeah, but more generally, I mean, the views are really going to be these kind of perspectives, these limited perspectives that we can hold. So we don't see things just as they really are. And because we don't see things just as they really are, we kind of respond to life with craving and aversion, and that causes us a lot of suffering. Right? So from a traditional point of view, these views are kind of innate. They're kind of we're born with them, or they're acquired in this lifetime. Yeah. I'll just talk a bit about these acquired ones. Okay, so these acquired ones, we've kind of picked things up, haven't we? All the time. We've throughout our life, we've picked things up from our parents, teachers, friends. The internet, and with attitudes, stances, behaviours, we've kind of assimilated them and kind of feel like that's how they are. But of course, if we reflect on that in any depth, we'll see that things change, don't they? Mores and behaviours change. Like 50 years ago, homosexuality was deemed a bad thing, and now it's generally acceptable. So patterns shift and so on, and these views are we acquire them through our lifetime and shed them as well at times. So the innate views are what we're born with. From a Buddhist point of view, what we're actually born with from previous life, we brought into from previous life. So in a way, they're the more deeper fabric of our minds. And often below the level of words, kind of almost below the level of cognition, kind of often not even very easy to articulate. But luckily in meditation, because we're getting more sensitive, more attuned, we can often start to find views, start to question, start to recognise views. So the most basic of these innate views, these inborn views, is that there's this self, a self and other. Like I'm a separate fixed self, and there's me, and then there's the world out there. Me here, looking out on you guys, and you guys behind the camera there, looking out on me. That feels like a commonsensical point of view. In a way, it feels so obvious that we don't. Does it require any analysis? But it is worth probing into. So we cherish this idea of the self. We cherish this idea of me here, the me here that's looking out on you. And if we start to probe into it, we start to kind of have a semi-articulate idea about kind of mysterious, this mysterious entity, which I'm calling me, yeah? This kind of invisible, mysterious entity that thinks like a kind of is the experiencer of my sight, it's the experiencer of my thoughts, it's the experiencer of my senses, yeah? This kind of mysterious entity which I attribute to me, yeah? So we all have that, and we all value that, don't we? We all really value that, and that is a natural in a way. So yeah, there's just this deep unthinking idea of me as opposed to the world. Yeah. And you could say, well, why don't we just leave it at that? That seems reasonable. But the problem with that is that we do fix around that, and then we try to build an identity. We spend most of our life trying to forge an identity. And when that identity is challenged, we act with aversion. Or we crave those things which are going to create more security for ourselves. Yeah? So, what's meditation about in essence? In a sense, it's about turning towards our experience. Yeah? In a sense, that's one way we could talk about meditation, turning towards our actual experience. Yeah? And that includes seeing our views more clearly. Our views are part of our experience. Yeah? So seeing our views more clearly. So I'm going to talk about a few views, get down more to brass tacks and talk about a few views that I think really can really hinder our meditation, hinder our kind of perspective. So yeah, the first one is that we kind of overgeneralize from our current experience. Yeah, whatever that is. If we're bored, if we're upset, if we're distracted, if we start to notice that in meditation, we start to notice often that we just think, oh, that's how I'm always going to be. That's kind of, it feels like a kind of permanency in our experience, yeah? And if we believe that, then that can start to lead to quite a lot of thought. That can start to say, well, why am I like this? Why is my mind like this? What am I doing? I was all right 5 minutes ago, and now I'm like this, and I'm stuck in this. So we can start to get an idea that we're stuck in our present experience. Okay, but of course that's just an idea. So a few ways we can work with that. We can work with that in the sense of, well, what does it feel like to be stuck in this experience? What does it feel like to be stuck in this experience is a question we can ask ourselves. And what's it like to assume that this is permanent, what I'm in now, yeah? So you can turn in a way towards whatever you're feeling now, whether you're feeling a bit uncomfortable, whether you're feeling happy to be engaged in this class. And you can start to question, well, what does it feel like to assume that that's going to stay permanent throughout the class or beyond? Whatever that is, whatever state we're in, we can start to question what it feels like to be, as it were, kind of stuck in that. Yeah? So another view that we can get into, and we're going to explore all these in meditation in a short little while, one of the things that we can start to get into an idea of what should be happening. Yeah, this is a really, well, again, like I say, it feels like this is just right. It should be like this. So we're given a real validity to that. And my personal one for that is kind of quietude. I think like I should just be calm. I should be calm. And well, why am I not calm? Yeah. So I leap from where I am now to where I think I should be, and not really turning towards my actual experience. Yeah. So so for example, earlier the drinks machine was humming while we were doing our body scan, and I was thinking, oh God, I can't be calm with that noise and the noise out in the street, and no one else here is going to be able to be calm as well. Yeah, so I just assume that everybody is kind of going to suffer in the way I'm suffering from that bit of noisiness. Yeah, so I'm assuming that I should be calm, rather than kind of turning towards that and thinking, what's it like to be a bit disturbed by this noise? Yeah, it's a more interesting question in a way. Yeah. So so we can start to look at, when we start to get into ideas of how things should be, we can start to question, well, what am I? How do I think things should be? What's the idea there? Like example, I think I should be calm, I should be serene, I shouldn't be agitated, I should be happy. So you could start to name it, what the particular mental state is, And then you can start to ask yourself, is that helpful, this idea that I should be like that? Is that even realistic? Is that even possible? You can start to question into it a little bit in that way. Yeah? So yeah, ways I think things I think should be happening. Yeah? And then a big thing is thinking. A big thing in meditation is thinking, isn't it? We might think that we should stop our thinking. Often if you ask people on the street, well, that's a saying, isn't it? I never ask people on the street. If you ask people in a school, which I have done, what meditation is, they say, you just stop your thinking. Or in classes, often people say, I just want to stop my thinking. And that's quite understandable, isn't it? Gosh, sometimes these intrusive thoughts come in and we're just like, oh God, where's that come from? And we're kind of reacting in a way, almost kind of arguing with our own kind of mind. Or we might just be bothered by this kind of endless chatter, this kind of repetitive kind of radio that's kind of crackling away, yeah? And so it's painful and we want to stop it, yeah? So there can be an idea that I want to stop my thinking. But that's not possible. You can't go from a massive thinking to no thinking, yeah? In fact, thoughts will arise unbidden, yeah? So what we can start to do is we can start to question, well, what does it feel like in the body? What does it feel like in the body to be in this chain of thought, in this, in this reaction to these intrusive thoughts, yeah? We can feel like, what does it feel like in the body? We can come back to the actual experience and be interested in that. I mean, I've started to think about kind of tension or incessant thinking, yeah, as kind of pockets of tension in my mind, like little kind of enclaves of tension. And I kind of move from one to, when I'm stuck in here, I move from one to another, trying to find resolution. And then my mind moves to the next thing, yeah? So these little pockets of tension. And my ability, and it creates this inability to settle. Underlying that is obviously an idea that I've got, that if I think into it enough, I'll be able to resolve the tension that's inherent in that thought, yeah, or that pattern that's going on. But of course, it's impossible to get out of thought with more thought, yeah. It just kind of proliferates, doesn't it? It just kind of carries on. So how do we create a transition from a busy mind or obtrusive thoughts? How do we create a transition from that into something more expansive, into kind of mode that we might wanting to get into? Well, we can start to actually move into what's driving the thought, what's driving the emotion, what's driving the chatter. Yeah, we might be trying to get something. We might be trying to get something to happen. Yeah, so we can kind of try to find what's underneath it and what's driving that thinking. Yeah. For example, if you've had an argument with somebody, you might just get down to, well, I'm just upset. I'm just upset. You get past that, they should have done this, I should have done that, I'll say this if they say that, and you get out of all that and just get to the point, oh, I'm just quite upset, and then you can start to see how, what's driving the whole machinery of your thought, yeah. So we'll have a look at how to have a go at that as well in a moment. One other thing we can get into is that we can start to try to find a final position in our meditation. Things are always coming and they're always going in meditation, aren't they? Thoughts, feelings, sensations. But sometimes we try to fix. We find a little relief. Find a little relief from the tension of being, and we try to fix onto that. That's good. I'm going to try and hold that. And that's quite interesting. Some people have more tendency to fix onto things as they arise in their experience, new things that are arising. And some people have a tendency to fix on things that are kind of going. They want stuff to go. They want to see things going, and they want to then fix into that. So you can start to see, you start to notice what your tendency is, and notice if you're trying to kind of fix get to a kind of end position in a way, end position in your mind, and kind of stop there. Of course, you can't stop at your experience. That's really, our experience is constantly unfolding. It's impossible to fix and stop, find an end point. Enlightenment even itself is not, as little as I know about it, is not an end point. It's not an end, a final position. Consciousness is always unfolding. Yeah. So you could even just question if you notice that tendency to fix. Oh, here I've got it somewhere now in meditation. I'm going to fix here. You can just see, is that possible? And just question, is that even kind of possible? Okay, so we're going to look at some of those in the meditation. We're going to notice if we're falling into any of those. But there's a more underlying tendency that I want to talk about, and we're going to use that as the basis of our meditation. Yeah, the underlying view is that there's this me. I talked about that a little while ago, didn't I? This me, this self that's experiencing things, sometimes we can look for that. That is a meditation practice, looking for this kind of mysterious, invisible entity, trying to find, well, where is that in my experience? But a way I find more useful is to start to try to find the attention. When we proliferate around the idea of me, when we're trying to create this sense of identity, grasping onto this, trying to push this away, it's inherently bracing, it's inherently tensing, and we can find that in the body. Yeah? We can find that in the body. So we can notice, if we've had a lot of proliferative thought and we notice our body, we notice that we're really jammed up. Yeah. So that's a way in, that's a way of noticing. So we're going to notice proliferative thought, notice chains of thought, ways that we're trying to fix ourselves, and then notice how we're tensing around that, noticing the body. Try to relax, try to ease that by just coming into contact with it, and then notice what that does to all that thought. Yeah. So we're looking at this kind of feedback system. We can't stop again having this cherishing sense of I, but we can get interested in this cycle of tension, proliferative thought, breeding more tension, and the opposite, where we start to relax, our thinking can start to ease, find gaps in it even, and that releases tension in the body. So we can just get interested in that cycle. So we'll use that as the basis of our meditation today. I'll just talk us into that, and then we'll just explore, as our mind goes off, as it inevitably will, we'll just explore what's underlying our mind, taking our mind away from this exploration of the tension or the release of tension in the body. Yeah. So you don't need to worry about that. I'll kind of guide us through it. And we'll meditate for about 20 minutes, and then we'll see about questions. So I'm going to be asking questions of my friends here in the room, and also use it as a chance for you at home to ask any questions. Yeah, so we'll get a little bit of a Q&A going around what we've just experienced with this meditation. Yeah? So before we go into that, hi to Tara and Sherilak. Sherilak is here with us as well. So nice to see you. Nice to see you here with us. Okay. So wherever you are now, at home, in your lounge, in your bedroom, on the sofa, on your desk, chair, just start to try and find a settled, upright posture. Yeah, settled but upright posture. Yeah, so let's just take a moment to close our eyes, let all those words that I've been using just kind of wash over us and come back into our actual experience. So the experience of the senses, what we can hear in the space all around us. Back to the subtle play of light and shade behind the eyelids. back to sensations in the body. Getting a sense of like your whole body here. And its contact with the ground. You can really trust that, start to let go into that contact with the ground. Noticing the tummy. And the lower back. Just letting go in that whole area. See if you can just start to soften and let go. Tummy and lower back. And then, without tensing up, just move into the upper body. You can't locate the outlines of the shoulders, but you can just start to feel the sensations there. See if you can start to let go, soften in those areas. Area of the face, eyes. And noticing the sensations present around the chest area, pleasant or unpleasant. And noticing your breathing, how the way the breath moves in the body. Trying to bring a curious new beginner's mind to that. You've felt the breath in the body before, but not like this. So come into your experience anew. Feel the movement of the body associated with the breath. Starting to let the breath now comb through the body, move through the body, move our awareness through the body with the breath, and just releasing tension or any holding that we feel. And if we don't feel like it can release, just bring the breath into the area where the holding is and breathe into it. Just being aware of any feeling of letting go, any releases. What that feels like. So we're just staying with the breathing body, breathing quite naturally. Trying to smooth out those tensions that we contact in the body. So you may have contacted a certain emotion in the body while we've been doing this, or kind of feeling, whether it be pleasant or unpleasant. And just notice if at any point you just get into an idea that this is how I am now. I'm stuck with this. You get caught in an idea where you're just kind of overgeneralizing from this moment in time, this period in time. And just coming back into the body, and we can just drop the question, is there anything, any particular state that I'm really wanting to make happen here now? Is that taking us away from what's actually happening? So we're staying with the breath as it moves in the body. And just noticing any holding tensions in the body. Just allowing the breath to soften those tensions if they will. Noticing any associated sense of release or relief. So we may at some point in the meditation contact some thought, a chain of thought about what's happening. And that's natural, that's normal. But that can turn into more thought and become more convoluted. There may be some aspect of your day that you can't let go of, that you're thinking about. And if any of that is getting in the way of just sitting here breathing with what's happening just now, we might just start to think, well, what is it getting in the way of? That is what's happening. That's part of what's happening. It's part of the way things are for us at the moment. And if it persists, we might start to question, probe into it. What's driving that persistent thought? Is there some emotion, or is there some idea of how things should be that's kind of driving that? Just staying with the breathing body now, noticing any holding that's happening in the body, in the shoulders or in the tummy. Breathing with that. Get interested in that. So we're staying with things just as they are. We might have an idea that they should be some other way. But we can question that. In a way, what's wrong with this present moment just as it is? Is there really anything missing? Feel yourself present here. The breath moving the body. Let the breath move through the body and just combing out the tension, combing out any bracing, any gripping, any holding on. And noticing what effect that has. So that we find ourselves looking for a kind of permanent, solid state. This is it. Stop here. So we can start to question if experience is actually like that. Is it possible to fix to any particular state? So for the last couple of minutes of the meditation, just letting go any effort you're making and just staying with the unfolding experience, being here, being alive. And just coming back, present, feeling your body weight, dropping into the floor, dropping into the chair or the cushion. And feeling yourself present here, together with other meditators, other people. Okay. Great. So I'm just going to let you just come out of that all in your own pace. I'm going to force you to speak just yet and ask many questions. But I hope there's some questions brewing, and hope there's some questions brewing out there as well. So while you're thinking about that, I'm just going to say a little bit about Brixton Buddhist community. Well, our whole economy, our whole Brixton Buddhist community economy runs on what we call dana, or generosity. All the live streams, all the study groups, the retreats, and so on that we put on are all kind of come out of generosity. They come out of generosity of energy and time, but they also come out of generosity of people's money. And people have been really, really generous, really generous. So we've worked out we need £2,000 a month to function as a community, to pay the 3 people that we have part-time running things behind the scenes, and to keep everything going and to keep moving into new territory like this amazing summer retreat we're about to put on in a couple of weeks, together with 5 other centres across the UK. It's a wonderful event. But that runs off generosity. People have been really, really generous, so thank you for that. We've raised £1,181 with 10 days to go, so we're doing really well this month. Thanks particularly to Deborah, Chris, Vicky, and Derek for your donations. So thanks very much, really appreciate it. Okay, so I forgot to put. Did the dynamometer come up? I forgot to. I didn't know where it was going to come up. But there you go. You saw the the dynamometer. All right, good. So let's get into any questions. We've got a little bit of time. We've got a bit of time to get into some questions. So yeah, if you've got any questions, just write them into the chat box, and we'll get to that. But I wondered, you guys, you've been sitting there very quiet, as you do in a meditation class, whether what might come out of that, either out of that talk or out of the more experiential aspect of the meditation.
I was thinking something. When we were doing the meditation, then you were asking us to reflect on our experience, and sometimes there was one point particularly where you were talking about what, whether there was any ideas that I should be having a particular experience.
Yeah.
And actually in my mind, what I was thinking is I shouldn't be having my particular experience. And then I started, like if the noises outside weren't there, then I'd have a brilliant meditation.
Yeah.
Or if I wasn't slightly uncomfortable, then I'd have a brilliant meditation, and all these things were getting in the way.
Yeah.
So I found that really helpful. But then I noticed that as I found that helpful, that kind of questioning, I just went off into sort of lots of thinking. So is there a way to ask those questions in my experience helpfully, as opposed to just getting lost in, like I started to think, oh, that's a really interesting question, blah, blah, and then I noticed I'd left my experience again.
Yeah, that's really good question, because we're endlessly fascinating to ourselves, aren't we? We're endlessly fascinating to ourselves. So if we start to probe into our experience with a question, and there's a kind of response, and we're like, oh wow, that's really interesting. That starts to tell me something about myself. I wonder if that's true in this situation or in that situation, or I wonder why I'm like that. And you can just go away with the idea, can't you? Yes, that's right. So, I mean, that is the danger of dropping in reflections in a way, is that they can become sources of distraction in themselves. So that's kind of inherent in the territory, if you see what I mean. But I think it shouldn't preclude us from trying it. And what we'll do is we'll find over time, if we start to work kind of intelligently with questions, we'll start to notice when there's a useful response, and whether then can I just... has that got a kind of releasing effect in a way on my mind or my experience? And can I then just kind of follow that releasing effect? So follow that releasing, relieving aspect of what that probing has kind of allowed to happen. And then if one can do that, it's a bit of an art, but if one can do that, one can get away from then like a tumbleweed going along with this fascinating line of questioning. If you're cognizant to that line of questioning, you could stay with it, but it's very difficult, isn't it? It's very difficult. Did you find it was difficult to stay with that line of questioning and still be kind of aware of what was going on, or did you just kind of find that you got lost a bit?
Well, both really. I sort of noticed when I got lost a bit, and then because I'd noticed I'd got lost, then I was able to come back. And so it almost felt like I could ask the question at a bit of a deeper level, or somewhere sort of deeper in my body.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. So there's something about letting go of proliferative thought, isn't there, that then allows something new to emerge, or you've described it as a kind of dropping down into something deeper, where you might then notice a more fundamental level of what I should and shouldn't be doing, so that's really good. So there is an art in letting go of proliferative thought and kind of allowing then just kind of, that's why I use that basic meditation of tension in the body as a kind of something to return to, and then you can kind of, let's just come back to that and then see if, that line of question, maybe that's dropped. It might have done, it might not have done, but we can just kind of test that out, come back to that basic level of feeling and see if something's changed, and then maybe if you're interested, you could drop the same question in again,
It almost felt like when I got lost in my thoughts, the thoughts were taking place physically in a different space. I don't know if this is possible, but it felt like the thinking thoughts that were taking me away from my experience were all happening around my head. Whereas when I literally dropped in a question, it felt like, okay, now come back to my experience. Is there an experience I think I should be having or something? And it felt like it was a question that took place at a deeper, in a different physical space, sort of nearer my belly.
Yeah, oh, really good. That's really good. I mean, that's an interesting, line of questioning, isn't it? And it sounds like an interesting response. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? With thinking, proliferative thinking, it often does feel spatial, doesn't it? It often does. People say, I'm up in my head, and that's what it means, doesn't it? It's kind of like it's all around here. And yet the truth, when it happens, or some feeling of truth, or some feeling of depth, it feels like more in here. Yeah, more in here. So it is interesting, that kind of spatiality is something you can kind of tune into a little bit as well, yeah. Good. Nothing coming from the chat box, no. Anything else? Anything else you noticed, Nikolai?
Yeah, I mean, the conversation was interesting because, you mentioned when you hear something or you feel something unpleasant, you have this feeling that it's going to last forever.
Oh, yeah.
And I had this feeling during meditation. I was hearing some unpleasant, sound, and I was really trying to figure out where in my body was I feeling it. And I spent time trying to find it, while what you are describing was with your mind, like with your thought. Me was really in my body, and then I don't know, I feel very centered. It just completely dropped that I was hearing something unpleasant, and I feel very centered. And then what was interesting is that when I heard this sound again, it somehow was less unpleasant, as if, it's just some sound.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's brilliant. That's right, isn't it? It kind of, the sound comes and there's a kind of reactivity. You want to kind of slightly argue with it. You're kind of like, I don't want you to be there because I'm trying to do this. And that's, and the longer you do that and build up a kind of, that you're building up a particular relationship to that sound, aren't you? Whereas if you can kind of work creatively with it, like in the way that you were doing, Nicola, it starts to almost become a kind of curiosity, a kind of an interest, a kind of a feature of your experience in a way, as interesting as, say, silence might be, maybe even more interesting in a certain way, So yeah, that sounded like a really creative way of working with it. And I don't know if you picked that up at home, but it was there's quite a lot. We're in Brixton now, so there's always quite a lot going on, which is all right. Oh, there was a questions. Okay, great. So here we go. Joe, hello. Joe's asking about the false view of self and other causes of suffering. What are some tips to keep our awareness of this in stressful times when our instinct is to lash out or shut ourselves away? Gosh, yeah, that is... That's a good question. That's a good question, Joe. How do we kind of not just let that be an abstraction, an abstract thought in those times of genuine strain or genuine life happening? Well, there is one way which is kind of called a reaction practice, which is in meditation you start to, you can bring to mind those type of an event that's happened like that in the day, and then notice what it feels like in the body, and notice, well, where's me experiencing that? Where's me experiencing that? Where's this? Why am I bracing? Where's this me that I'm trying to protect? And you start to question it like that in a kind of controlled environment of your meditation, if you see what I mean. So that's one way you can start to then bring that into more real life situations, because you've kind of investigated that for yourself. But in the actual moment, how do you do it? I think the worst thing, or the thing that might be helpful, is to try and tell yourself there's no self, there's no me now, and there's no this thing happening, because it will just create another layer of complexity and confusion in the situation. There's always this relative sense of self, yeah? So that's what we experience, at least, yeah, a kind of relative sense of self. So that's the relative sense of self that you can notice. What in me now is being kind of agitated? Where do I feel that? What feels kind of perturbed? What am I bracing against? Where is that kind of happening? Yeah. So that's happening. If you start to, that line of questioning is more like what's happening in your body as a result, yeah, of this stressful event, and you can notice in you what's kind of bracing or pushing back against that. Yeah. So that's the kind of way that I've found most useful, is kind of, in a way, taking a breath and kind of just feeling what in me is kind of bracing against this situation, or hot or inflamed in this situation, and start to see if just by bringing that kind of awareness to it, it kind of, well, something actually changes. A bit like Nicola was saying, something actually changes in your relationship to, you know, whatever's happening, you know. So if that sounded a bit not particularly clear, but I don't know if that was helpful, Joe. Yeah. So Debs is asking, any tips on how to tune into this when we're not meditating, going about daily life? Okay. Yes. So that's hopefully I've kind of talked into that a little bit. What we're going to notice in our daily life is when we get hot, when we resistant, or when we brace, or when we feel graspy, kind of wanty for things, yeah. And where that happens, where we can come into relationship with that, is in the body, yeah. So I think maybe I'm repeating myself, but I feel the most useful thing is to notice my bodily response. And that kind of fits with what we were saying before, isn't it? Because the proliferative thinking, I can't believe this is happening, I can't believe they're doing that, that generates tension or bracing in the body. And that bracing tension in the body then pushes more the thought, drives the thought more. So if we can start to come into the body, start to notice our kind of bodily response, that may then have effect into our kind of our thinking, our way of relating to what's happening. You know, so because there is that relationship between thought and the bracing, the tension in the body. So I hope that's useful. So that's, in a way, we can explore that in meditation, and then there's no reason, yeah, just bring that into getting jostled at the bus where you think people should be a bit further away from you. I mean, that's an interesting one, isn't it? People should be further away from me. You know, just notice what goes on, you know, and see if you can come into a different relationship with it by doing that. Okay, so I've run a bit over time, but that's all right. So the main thing I want to do now, just to wrap up, is what I really want you to do is I want you to sign up to the summer retreat. I want you to sign up to our summer retreat, which is between the 2nd and the 9th of August. It's an event that we're putting on together with 5 other Buddhist centres across the UK, the London Buddhist Centre, Dublin, Sheffield and Cambridge. And it's going to be a really rich programme of meditation, kind of reviews, how to deepen meditation. You're going to have a chance to tune in with your local Sangha, your local community, in this case Brixton, with people that are on retreat with you. How is it going? There'll be a chance to listen to talks in the evening, chances to reflect that again in these within these little smaller groups in the afternoon, and all of that will take place over the course of the week. And the great thing is you're going to do it from your home. How can you deepen and still be in your life? So I'm going to encourage you to come on retreat. It's free. You can find it on our website. It's free. You just need to sign up, and then be on as much of it as you can. Just be on as much of it as you can. And for the bits you can't be on, don't worry about it. Yeah, just sign up and be on as much of the retreat as you can. And we'll really go through that kind of adventure, which is a retreat. We're going to go through that together as a community. Yeah.
Can I invite my friend who's never learnt to meditate or is completely new?
Yeah, you can invite your friend who's completely new, never learned to meditate. There'll be newcomers meditation, learning meditation from scratch for those people that haven't meditated, and there's no kind of experience level required to come on. It's an open retreat, it's open to everybody. So yeah, just sign up, go to our Brixton Buddhist community website, sign up, and I'll see you there. And I'll also see you at the next Monday live stream, which I believe is going to talk about behaviours. Some of the questions were really good and really about how does this work in my actual life. We'll be talking about behaviours, roles, attitudes that you carry around with you in your actual life, which then you can investigate in meditation. So join me for that. Oh yeah, and lastly, Zoom. There's going to be a Zoom meeting now to really get more in-depth into your meditation, whatever happened for you tonight in that meditation, or any thoughts generated about that. Just come on the Zoom. The links are in the description and in the chat, and that will be hosted, and you can come in there and explore meditation with other people that are interested in doing that. Yeah, so I really welcome you to do that. And again, if you're new, just come along. Just come along. You don't have to say much. You just might just say your name and just see what's going on, and just kind of bring you. Just try it out. Just try it out. Okay. So very good evening. Wishing you a very good night.